everyone. My name is Frenetica. Today, we had a announcement from Weavers about the new track list. To be frank, I've been feeling a little bit of despair and anger lately. So this track list is a little bit of a I don't know, it's a distraction from my anger. So I welcome it. Here we had this was announced when I was like 9 a.m. my time. The track list is as follows: Body to Body, Hooligan, Aliens, FYA, 2.0, number 29, Swim, Merry-Go-Round, Normal, Like Animals, They Don't Know About Us, One More Night, Please, and Into the Sun. This is a solid 14 track list, and I want to speculate. I want to speculate a little bit with you about the. Oh, sorry, this is. I've been truly very angry and sad, so I'm trying to distract myself. Um, let's remember that BTS has given us a few clues as to what this album is going to be about. We know it has to do with Erirang. We know it's kind of chapter 3. And we know it has to do with love. But I think it's very obvious, at least in my interpretation, I think it's obvious to assume that it also has to do with the love that BTS has amongst themselves and the love that they have with ARMY. Because we are communities, right? So I don't know, body to body hooligan aliens makes body to body in this context makes me think. I mean, it could be a body. It's spelled like body, as in we are together, body to body, like facing the front lines. They just come back from the military, so it could be something like that. But it's also something about the physicality of being with a human being, of having this connection physically and knowing they are there for you, right? Hooligan, when I think of hooligans, I think of the movie Hooligans. There, what is the exact meaning? I mean, I think of like people who are on the outskirts of society that are known to be more violent, that have been. Is there a connotation about religiosity? Religiosity? Oh my god, I don't know how to say this word. Okay, I'm going to look in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Hooligan, a ruffian, yes. Usually a young man who engaged in rowdy and violent behavior, especially as a part of a group or a gang. As a part of a group or a gang, of course. When the movie Hooligan is precisely about the being a group. I mean that has to face. It has to do something with BTS being a group of men that disrupted the American industry and the global industry as a whole and Korean industry as well. I mean, they have been a shock to the K-pop wave, right? Aliens, I also think this is pure speculation, so I'm gonna contrast this with what we actually get. Aliens, I think of to be an alien in like in the American Constitution, for example, when they call someone an alien, they mean a person that is foreign to the land. Only very recently, I think it been associated with actual extraterrestrial beings. Maybe it talks about the foreignness or the difficulties that BTS faced in the American industry, but it could also be in the military. It can be their experience as as famous human beings. They can feel like aliens. They, as I talk about in my JK in my talk about the JK life, fame makes you be particularly estranged from a normal human experience. So it could be that. FYA. FYI, I know for your information, but FYI, I'm not sure. I think it has to do, and I think this is something that Jungi likes to do. He likes to do acronyms like Somebody Does Love, or I think he also liked, um, I mean, it's also a trend. Like, debí tirar más fotos is DTMF. I have I am neurodivergent, and as part of my neurodivergency, I have an issue with processing language. So that's why sometimes I cut my videos a lot because I stutter a lot, and I also have issues with the right spelling. But anyways, I think FYA has to do. If I have to guess, it has to do with an acronym, and in my opinion, like Jungi is prone to like acronyms. I don't know why. Um, 2.0. I don't know, maybe chapter 2 or like there's like what is 2.0? When I release a software and there's a better version, you release like let's imagine I make the software like Andrea software. So Andrea 2.0 is like after the beta version was released and there has been like a little bit of a betterment in the code. So that's 2.0. Number 29. I don't know. Does it has to do with age or I don't know. Number 29. 29. Maybe it's that they are all like turning 30 and they're no longer 20. Maybe that's something like that. Swim, it's in black. So I'm guessing that's their title. I'm excited. Merry-go-round. I like the idea of a merry-go-round because it invokes nostalgia and childhoodness, but it's also about the circularity of things. Right now I'm deep into the throes of my of my thesis, and I'm like specializing it. It's like I'm doing it in philosophy of language, but I'm specifically focusing on Nietzsche. And right now I'm like revising what Nietzsche said about his teacher Schopenhauer, which I hate that I love him so much, but I do love him. But it's such a contradiction that me as a feminist loves like the first tinsel of all, that is Schopenhauer. Anyways, he he's one of the first philosophers that brought back the idea of the circularity of the universe in the Western world. The Greeks understood the world as a circular entity. Parmenides thought it was static. Heraclitus thought it was circular, but that it was ever flowing, like that it couldn't, like it didn't stop. Heraclitus, like the image of Heraclitus is that river that doesn't stop. Um, so a merry-go-round makes me think of that. I also think of the merry-go-round in which Jean first met armies, which is I truly don't know how he didn't get like permanently damaged by how many times he went around the road, like the round. Normal, and it's all in capital letters. So normal. So it's 6 letters. I don't think it has to do with BTS, but maybe it's an acronym, or I don't know, maybe it's just stylistic. But it's interesting that he says that the checklist first has normal, and then beneath it says like animals. I'm reading a part of Nietzsche's theory, and he is talking about how humans are fooled by believing they have this rationality, and that we feel pity for animals because they don't understand like their succinctness. But then Nietzsche says the truly stupid ones are human beings that don't realize that they are the ones who are succinct, that their rationality and their intellect is not these like huge like feet, rather that they're just like at the mercy of like a bigger force. In Schopenhauer, that was the force of will. I think Nietzsche anyways, this is not a class. But I think it's interesting that you have normal, because maybe it's like you want to be a normal human being, but then like animals makes me think like acting wild and free and something like that. I don't know, they don't know about us. This makes me think of a very famous song that was sung in Mexico by Ana Gabriel. The song is called Solo Amigos, and the I'm laughing because I mean we have Ana Gabriel and Juan Gabriel are both pop artists, and they had like they operated at the same time, and they're like one of our main queer artists. But because they were operating mainly in the 80s and 90s, Mexico had that thing like the American military, in which you could be gay but you couldn't say it, but it was obvious that they both were gay. So Juan Gabriel was gay and Ana Gabriel was a lesbian. Famously, Ana Gabriel sang "Solo Amigos" to in a live stage where Veronica Castro, who was her lover and was married at the time, and who also had a one of an like truly a treasure in Mexican pop music, Kristen Castro. Anyways, again, this is not a teaching about Latin music, but she sang "Solo Amigos," in which she proclaims how like they to the world they can only be seen as friends, but like when night comes, they can truly love each other passionately, and it goes more. It's more about than the sex. I'm not. Please don't relate it to the BTS guys. I don't. But like that, their passion and their friend, like their love for each other was beyond what the world could understand, and it had to be behind closed doors. Of course, that had to do with romantic feelings and the feelings of being gay. I think what they don't know about us means is like they truly don't understand the relationship that the 7 BTS members have and the members with Army have. And I think it's true. Like people don't understand true love. One more night, please, and into the sun. One more night feels, I don't know, like a love song, like just one more night. Or it could be also this like it's just one more night until we're all back together. I don't know. I don't know what they're talking about because they haven't told us anything. We just know that it has to do with love and erirang and longing. So if we know about erirang and longing, and please watch the video that I made on researching on erirang because I thought it was an amazingly researched video. Erirang is a song, is a type of folk song. And if you know, if you've seen that video, it's many different erirangs. They were sung when you were longing or when you were under pressure or suffering like a certain kind of resistance. So yeah, maybe one more night means something to do with them. Just one more night and they're like back together as seven members of BTS. Please, and Into the Sun. Into the Sun makes me think of Icarus. I mean, the story of Icarus is not good because he got too close to the sun and he got burnt. But maybe, I don't know. These are my thoughts. Anyways, I'm excited, but I've also been feeling really sad and anger. And I mean, I truly cannot believe that we are again in the throes of endless wars and killings, and we have not even grappled with the fact that a genocide has happened and we're going into, I mean, not we because I'm Mexican, but the world is going into another like huge war. And I've been feeling angry. I feel so much anger. So I went back to one of my favorite books of all time. I've talked about this before. I made a video about the philosophy of love between Army and BTS. Please watch it if you want to know more. But one of my favorite books is All About Love by Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks was a American philosopher and essayist, and she talked a lot about community. I want to read you this line. While forgiveness is essential to spiritual growth, it does not make everything immediately wonderful or fine. Often, New Age writing on the subject of love makes it seem as though everything will always be wonderful if we are just loving. Realistically, being part of a loving community does not mean we will not face conflicts, betrayals, negative outcomes from positive actions, or bad things happening to good people. Love allows us to confront these negative realities in a manner that is life affirming and life enhancing. When a colleague whose work I admire, whom I consider a friend, who for no reason that was ever clear to me, began to write vicious attacks on my work, I was stunned. Her critiques were full of lies and exaggerations. I had been a caring friend. Her actions hurt. To heal this pain, I entered into an empathetic identification with her so that I could understand what might have motivated her. In Forgiveness, a bold choice for a peaceful heart, Robin Kasarjian explains forgiveness is a way of life um, that gradually transforms us from being helpless victims our circumstances to being powerful and loving co-creators of our reality. It is in this fading away of the perceptions that cloud our ability to love. Through the practice of compassion and forgiveness, I was able to sustain my appreciation for her work and cope with the grief and disappointment I felt about the loss of this relationship. Practicing compassion enabled me to understand why she might have acted as she did and to forgive her. Forgiving means that I am able to see her as a member of my community still, one who has a place in my heart should she wish to claim it. We all long for a loving community. It enhances life's joy, but many of us seek community solely to escape the fear of being alone. Knowing how to be solitary is central to the art of loving. When we can be alone, we can be with others without using them as a means of escape. Throughout his life, Henry Nouwen emphasized the value of solitude. Anyways, I feel a lot of anger and rage, particularly to America right now. And this hurts me because I mean, I taught myself to speak English from watching American shows, and I believed in the American dream. I have family members who are American citizens. But in my mind, there is no doubt that it is because of America that a genocide in Palestine happened, and that the atrocious war that is being waged in Iran is happening. To be honest, it has been clouding my mind. I have been looking for BTS's words, and not that I want to say this is nothing. I don't want to implicate in my political views BTS. This is just my own reflections. Lately, they have been talking about love and what is love? What is my love song? And how can they love? Like JK asked about how can he be honest with Army? And RM asked about the community of him being Army. Like, what is Army to him? One person, one community, one entity. And I feel like I need to think about forgiveness and empathy because I cannot allow myself to feel this horrible rage that I feel right now in my heart. It is unacceptable that over 100 children, young girls, were killed. And I truly cannot feel, I cannot hold two things. During the next few weeks and days, I will be trying to reread this book to remind myself why loving is important and why forgiveness is important. And if you, like me, feel hopeless and helpless about this terrible, terrible war, I hope that we're able to find meaning and loving in forgiveness, in empathy, and in understanding. I just realized that my microphone stopped recording, and I tried to record this twice, and both times the microphone was off. Um, what I wanted to say is, I feel a lot of resentment and anger in my heart, and these are emotions that I do not want to feel. I feel a cloudness of, like a dark hole, like a black hole that is sucking my soul. And it's not something that I want to identify with. So during the next few days, I'm going to be using my time to read all about love, to remember that in order to be in a community, I have to first love myself. In order to be to love a human being like a partner, I have to love myself. And in order to be in a loving community, I have to learn acceptance, forgiveness, and empathy. It breaks my heart that more than 100 young girls were senselessly killed by a US American attack for no reason. And it enrages me that no one is speaking out for the 75,000 Palestinians that have died since October 23rd. But I don't want to feel this anger and rage, because I feel that that is the anger and rage that fascistic people like Benjamin Netanyahu and some people in the American government feel against Muslims and Christians that live in the Middle East. So again, I know I'm speaking for myself. I am a Mexican citizen that I don't have any contracts with anyone that prohibits me in talking about this. And as a Mexican citizen, I we have a long tradition of left-wing pacifism and humanism. I know this might be weird for some of you, but it isn't for me. It is normal for me to feel empathy and long for a peaceful time. I want to emphasize these are my own political views. I don't attribute any of this to BTS. I don't know what they believe in. I don't think they should say anything like I am saying. This is separate. But as someone who is living and waiting for their comeback and thinking about love and resistance and Erirang, and if you want to go back to that video, the article that I read talked about the oppression that the Korean people, both North Korea and South Korea, because at the time it was just one Korea, lived through the Japanese occupation, and how Erirang was a resistance song to find love, to find community, to find like something inside you to be able to move forward in life. These are the thoughts that I have. During the next few days, besides reading bell hooks, I'm also going to be revisiting RPWP, because this tension that I feel, this anger and despair and sadness, I feel is embodied in RPWP. Of course, it was a very personal thing for Namjoon. I'm going to be exploring it for myself and my community and the world at large, and what peace means and what international relationship and the international rule of law means. And I'm going to be revisiting D-Day, especially Hegum Polar Night. I'm gonna be revisiting amygdala. I sometimes feel that my amygdala is triggered. I know that I'm triggered, and I know that I feel so much anger and hate and resentment because I feel so much triggered in my soul. I also want to believe in the fact that I can love someone else, and so I'm gonna listen to somebody does love. And I'm in a way I'm also gonna revisit the last album of Jimin, because I feel there's something about Esmeralda Marching Band that lets you know that in imagining this fantasy of a beautiful world in which we are together and loving and we live this utopia helps us actually create that in real life. I don't want this like sadness and resentfulness to be just brew inside of me. I want it to change into a loving community in which I can do something to change their circumstances. I feel so much like my heart goes out to the many young girls who lost their lives, the 75,000 people, Palestinian people who have been killed, and the 700 and plus that have been people that have been killed since the war started 4 days ago. I'm not a believer in a higher being, but if there were, I would want to pray for their souls. And I would want to pray for atonement for the fascist hate that Benjamin Netanyahu has against all Muslims and Christians living in the Middle East. It pains me that in a holy time for people, that time has been being is being interrupted. Like religion is being tainted in such a bad word. I mean, I love one of my favorite philosophers is Spinoza, and a lot of his writings comes from the peaceful nature. Like Judaism is a peaceful nature. So that's why it like the conflating of the state and the religion hurts me because I know I have read of Spinoza that has so much passion and love and compassion for humanity that I don't know. Anyways, if you are an army that is living on Palestine or on Iran, I hope that your family is safe. If you are an American army, I'm sorry that I feel resentful to you right now. I know that it's not your fault. I know that it's the government. I'm going to try my best to find empathy and sympathy and forgiveness because I love you as much. And I just hope that we can create a better world. So, yeah, until next time, this is Spike. He's the light of my life, truly. Remember to be excellent to one another. And please stop the senseless killing.